Are you an investigative professional? Have you heard about the investigatorstoolbox.com? Check out this exclusive online community for networking, learning, and data resource management. The Toolbox is a one-stop shop for all your investigative needs. Check out our robust collection of forums, our comprehensive learning page, and our expansive library of OSINT research tools. We've just released an app for both iOS and Android, so you can access the site seamlessly right off your phone. We have also partnered with some amazing companies like Crosstracks, Delphoint, IRB, Scope Now, the Hetherington Group, PI Magazine, PI Gear, MERLIN Locate Services, Parabin, the PI Institute of Education, and so many more. They're offering over $1,250 worth of discounts and benefits exclusively to community members today. Use code PIP201836 and save 10% on your membership. That's www.investigators-toolbox.com.
Crosstracks Case Management System. That is what we are talking about today. Are you using a case management system? What are you waiting for? If you don't use a case management system, you really need to look into implementing that into your business regimen. I've been at it with Crosstracks now a little over a year, and it's just been a game changer for my business. They are SOC 2 certified, SOC 2 Type 2 certified. If you don't know what that means, it means that they're encryption system is second to none, and you have to go through a whole screening process to figure out if you can even qualify for that, and they have. So you know with certainty your data is being protected. I don't think there's another case management system out there that offers that same ability to have the SOC 2 Type 2 certification. As you guys know, I've been singing the praises of Crosstracks, and I really believe in this product, and I believe you should check it out. Contact Brad, contact Pat, one of the team members over there, and see if it's right for you. Crosstracks Case Management System, check it out today.
TALI is celebrating its 50th annual conference next month in Fort Worth, Texas. TALI President Catherine Torres will join us next week to tell us all about it. You can learn more at tali.com. That's TALI.com. Just click on the conference button. So welcome to this week's show. Today, we visit forensics expert Mark Gillespie. Mark was a featured speaker at the most recent NALI conference in San Antonio and brought a wealth of experience and knowledge on the topics of forensics. He was also a great sport as a volunteer for Pistol Packing Paula. Yeehaw! Now folks, you'll find no better expert in the forensics field than Mark. So please welcome Mark Gillespie and your host, Private Investigator Matt Spaier.
And welcome everybody to this week's episode of PI Perspectives. We are on episode 101. So I figured today we do a 101 on forensics. I was recently in Texas at a NALI event and saw an amazing presentation from Mark Gillespie. So I reached out to Mark and asked him to come onto the program. So Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. And you were actually a guinea pig for Pistol Packing Paula. You were dragged up on stage, and I was very happy to see that you made it out in one piece.
I am too.
Yeah.
It was fun.
The look on your face was priceless. Kelly Riddle was trying to kill you.
Yeah, I think he has for quite a number of years. But, he always has pranks up his sleeve.
Yeah. Well, your pedigree is pretty impressive, man. You've been in this business for a while. You're a former president of the Texas Association. You're a professor. You've taught at several universities, and you got this great business. And you come out of law enforcement where you had done a lot of forensic work. So tell me a little bit about your background, a little more in detail, and how you got into this line of work.
Sure. Well, I started off, I began my career in the Air Force as a special agent. I was officer and a special agent with the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. OSI was something I always dreamt of doing. As soon as the $6 Million Man came out on TV,
right. Yeah.
Of course, you're too young to even remember that.
I remember. I'm not that young.
But I had the opportunity to get assigned with OSI, became a special agent,
Awesome.
And I spent a career with OSI. I loved it. I commanded a number of investigative units around the world. in OSI, we were formed by the FBI in 1947. So our mission mirrored the mission of the Bureau with,
Right.
crimes against property, people, white collar crime, counterintelligence, counterespionage. So I retired in 1996. And I was offered an opportunity with the Austin Police Department to become their first civilian forensic director.
Right.
And so I took an early retirement from the Air Force, and which they were offering at the time, which I was fortunate to take advantage of. So I became the forensic science director for APD, and that was a very wonderful job, very challenging. Basically built it from, it had existed, but it had been operated by a police commander, for many, many years.
Right.
And the police commanders, their primary job was the Blue Santa program, APD golf tournament. So as a result, forensic science at Austin Police Department didn't get much attention.
Kind of backseat, you would guess, right?
Right.
Wrong person running that department.
So when I took over, I basically, got several $1 million worth of funding over a couple of years, created a crime scene unit, established the DNA lab, modernized equipment and our capabilities. Did that for about 7.5 years. I taught for St. Edward's University. I actually introduced the forensic science courses to St. Edward's University here in Austin. It's a small, private, expensive Catholic school. And that was in 2002. And once I started teaching courses there, the interest was just phenomenal.
Right.
So it was getting a lot of attention by the administration, which led me to help establish a forensic science undergraduate degree program.
Right.
With the emphasis on crime scene investigation. So I created that, helped create that, and taught courses, forensic science courses, criminal investigation courses, and did that for about 8 years. And while I was teaching, I started my company in 2004.
Okay.
And probably the hardest thing I did as a new PI was trying to figure out what my company name was going to be. And I settled with my last name, Gillespie Investigation.
So yeah, Paul Jabe would be very angry with you.
I bet.
Don't
And
do
let's not tell him.
Yeah, exactly.
So I started off doing everything, because as an OSI agent, I was trained to do everything.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so I didn't want to specialize. I didn't want to focus on, one or two investigative areas. I wanted to do it all.
Right.
And so I did it all. And it wasn't until about 2009 when I started doing criminal defense investigations. So I really enjoyed that. I have a passion for criminal defense and helping people who need, my skill, my expertise, my experience.
Sure.
And so I basically found my niche in criminal defense investigations and just kind of honed my skills there and focused on that. I still did a lot of other things, like cheating spouse backgrounds, but predominantly it was criminal defense. And I had a number of high profile cases and got some good results on some exonerations or acquittals, which was very rewarding.
Right.
And so I've just been doing that ever since.
Right. Do you ever do anything with the Innocence Project at all, or no?
Well, I have not. I've wanted to. I'm hoping that maybe at some point in the future that I can.
Right.
but I mean, I've been so busy with so many of my, criminal defense cases. Most of them are murder, capital murder,
Right.
you know, serious sexual assaults, aggravated sexual assaults, aggravated robberies, and I really enjoy that. So,
Right.
but the Innocence Project is something I wouldn't mind assisting with at some point in time.
Yeah, it's very admirable. I mean, it's not my line of work. I don't really do it, but I've talked to a couple people on the show here that have been involved with it. Kitty Haley most recently was
Right.
on. We were chatting about it, and it's very admirable. It's very very cool thing, and you certainly have a wealth of experience in doing forensics and defense work and things like that. So your operation now, is it just you, or do you have a group of guys and gals that work with you, or
Well,
just a solo?
I have a core group of about I have quite a few people under my license, spread out across the state, and that's predominantly to reach out to people that I can train and mentor
Sure.
and use for things that are in other parts of the state.
Right.
Or if I have a case that needs to be reviewed, I can send it to them and have them analyze certain aspects of it, give me feedback.
Yeah.
But I have a core group of about 3 people here, and I've got a great staff, so I'm blessed.
So what part of Texas is here for you? What's your main location?
I'm actually in the Austin metro area.
Okay.
My office is in a little bedroom community of Austin called Leander, Leander, and it's probably one of the fastest growing. A couple of years ago, it was the fastest growing metro area under 100,000 population in the U.S. So it's growing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my trip out to NALI, the San Antonio conference, was actually my first trip to Texas where I didn't hop on a plane and go somewhere else. So I got a chance to see the state a little bit, and God, it's so big. It's huge. Amazing. Yeah.
It is huge. In fact, it's so big that, I'm licensed in Louisiana and I live in Alabama. So a lot of times when I'm coming from Alabama or back from Louisiana heading into Texas, the first mileage sign you see that says, El Paso, 839 miles. And it takes a couple days to get through Texas, just about.
Oh, easily.
And, it's quite a large piece of property.
Yeah, I loved it. I had a great trip there, and I'll definitely be back. I know I'll be back because I'm going to Fort Worth to the NALI or the TALI conference next month. So
good.
I'll be back again. Texas got me quick, so. It's good, man. That's good. It's good that you have a network of people that you trust too, that you're able to handle things like that. And one of the things I learned about Texas is this whole mentoring program, right? To become a private investigator, you essentially have to mentor with somebody, right? You got to work under their license and put the experience in, right?
Well, there's 2 ways to become a PI in Texas. You can be a what we call a registrant, which is anyone that you don't have to have any skill set or any experience to become a PI.
Right.
But in order to be a company owner and a business manager for a PI company, you have to meet certain minimum qualifications.
Right.
And if you don't meet those, then you go to the next level of becoming what we call, or what we used to refer to as, a registrant.
Right.
So a registrant can be anyone, but the actual license holder is a person that meets the state's qualifications. College degree, former law enforcement experience, or 3 or more years PI experience.
Right. Yeah, it's a little similar in New York. You got to have 3 years experience, either law enforcement or working for an investigation company, to even be allowed to take the test. But
Right.
once you take the test, there's no continuing education. So you're, as long as you can pay the fee to renew your license, you're good.
Yeah.
So it's something that, as a state association, Aldenese in New York, we've tried to change it, but then we got no traction on that. The only thing we were able to do is make it a Class B misdemeanor to be practicing as a private investigator without actually being licensed. We had to settle on the misdemeanor. We were shooting for a felony, but that didn't work out either. But at least there's some sort of checks and balances in New York. So that's good stuff. So before we take the break, tell me a little bit about this other program that you're involved with, the Alive program with active shooters. So tell me a bit about that.
Well, ALIVE is an acronym, and it was the program, ALIVE Active Shooter Survival Training Program, was created by a good friend of mine, Michael Julian, out of California.
Yeah, good guy.
A lot of people here will know him.
Yep.
And I was in his first class 2 years ago for certifying instructors to teach that all over the country. And, I have a passion for personal security, awareness,
right,
and safety and handgun training. And so I, being close to Mike and following his career path pretty closely, he invited me to attend his class, and that was great because I teach firearms and firearm safety, and so it was right up my alley.
Yeah.
And the Alive Active Shooter Survival Training Program is probably one of the best programs I've seen. And I shouldn't say probably, it is.
It is, right? Hands down.
It goes so far in teaching people how to survive an active shooter situation.
Yep.
And a lot of people have a misunderstanding about when they hear the word active shooter. They just don't really understand what that means exactly, other than a person, in a high rise or an apartment or hotel in Las Vegas, for example, shooting down on a crowd of people.
Yep.
Well, what this program does, it teaches people that are in the range of an active shooter, like at a school, a church, an office building, a post office, any place. It teaches them very important techniques, fundamentals, and creates a mindset for people to survive.
Sure.
And the acronym is assess, leave, impede, violence, and E is the last one is escape. Yeah. So it gives you it breaks down each of those letters of the acronym and teaches you how to actually get out alive.
Yeah.
And it's a phenomenal program. We have it online. If you're interested, people are interested, I can put you in touch with our link.
Yep.
And it's very affordable, and it's a wonderful program.
Yeah, and we'll have a link to your contact information in the show notes, so folks can reach out. And I met Mike a couple of years ago at a Cali event, and man, what a great guy! I really, just really hit it off with him. I have tons of respect for him. His story of how he got into the business is pretty amazing too. That program that he's got, it's respectable. And I encourage folks, if you have any interest in that stuff, to go check it out. So, okay. So we're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back in, we're going to talk about forensics and, how it relates to all different types of investigations. That was something that was very eye-opening to me, during your presentation in San Antonio. You figure it's just, these are the criminal cases. This is the only thing that's good for. But really, if you do any type of investigative work, you really should be considering forensics, and even upselling your clients on the idea of doing forensic work on your investigative work. So
everybody sit tight. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.
Are you overwhelmed with your current caseload? Could you use some help with your skip trace assignments? With MERLIN Locate Services, rather than adding staff, you can add an entire skip trace department of licensed private investigators who specialize in skip tracing. Check out merlinlocate.com today. When you work with MERLIN Locate Services, you bring on a valuable experience and trusted extension to your team. Check out the PI Institute of Education at piinstitute.com. Since 1989, Kelly Riddle has been teaching on subjects such as surveillance, nursing home investigations, insurance fraud, domestic investigations, hidden assets, and accident scene investigations. The PI Institute of Education is a featured learning partner in the Investigators TOOLBOX.com. So check out the free content on the site, then visit the Institute for more great savings on additional classes. Have you heard about this year's PFIC conference? If you're into cell phone forensics or want to learn more about the world of DFIR, this is the place to be. The conference takes place in Salt Lake City, Utah, from September 14th to the 16th. You could attend this event live or virtually. The content from this event will be available until the end of 2021. Learn more at pfic-conference.com. The surveillance issue for PI Magazine is here, so make sure you check out all the great content available in this special edition, online or via hard copy, today.
And welcome back to PI Perspectives. This is Matt Spaier, your host. Today we're here with Mark Gillespie. Mark is the forensics expert, in my opinion. Mark, I want to welcome you back to the program. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you, Matt.
Okay, so Forensics 101, because this is episode 101. So let's just start off with the basics, and then let's grind in and dig down a little bit deeper. So obviously, I did before the break. I kind of teased it a little bit about doing forensic work for criminal cases, and that's really when you think about it, that's CSI and all this stuff, and this is how it all comes in. So why don't you break it down for me a little bit?
Well, first of all, let's gain a very simple understanding of what forensic is. Forensic is nothing more than the application of science to law, to our justice system.
Right.
And the forensic sciences has a very, very rich history dating back, literally several hundred years. And every day we're seeing advancements in the forensic science disciplines, which are just phenomenal.
Right.
Especially in DNA technology, DNA analysis, tools to, investigate and process crime scenes. Sure. Collection of evidence, things of that nature. So, but when most people think of forensics, they think of a criminal case, somebody doing something very terrible to another person. Right. That creates and leaves a lot of evidence at a very gruesome crime scene. Well, what we find are a lot of PIs, they have in their mind this very narrow focus of forensics, and they think of, like I just mentioned, they think of criminal cases. Right. So you may have a lot of PIs that don't do criminal cases, so their forensics is kind of out of sight, out of mind, right? Not even considered. Well, forensics and the use of forensic disciplines can cross the bridge to many, many different investigative areas, probate cases, civil cases, and not just criminal investigations. So. Right. Yep. I think people need to. It's sort of a paradigm shift. They need to kind of expand their thinking to consider forensics in all aspects of their PI work. Yeah. I mean, you start talking about forensics with accounting, right? Certified fraud examiner. That's an example right there. Forensics with computers.
Obviously that's a whole can of worms too. But even forensics behind like accident reconstruction and things like that, right? Being able to identify things that are going to be important for a reconstructionist to be able to put that science behind whatever it is they're doing. So like, for instance, if you're an investigator, I mean, you're not necessarily an accident reconstructionist, being able to identify the things that an accident reconstructionist would need by the time they get on site there. Because often you may be the first person out there before the accident reconstructionist makes it there, right? So, being able to measure folds of metal on a vehicle, that's important stuff, right? Points of impact, showing what the interior of the vehicle looked like, whether or not a speedometer was frozen at a particular, at the point of impact, or things like that. Like, these are all important things, on a forensic side that you might not think about, right? But when it comes down to it later, these are really important aspects to a particular case.
Absolutely. When we talk about forensics, like I said, PIs need to kind of broaden their field of vision to utilizing forensics more. As PIs, what do we do as PIs? We basically gather information.
Yeah.
We talk to people.
Yep.
We write reports, but we have an objective in mind to solve a problem, solve an issue. So if they look at every aspect of what is involved to solve an issue, to solve a problem, consider what can forensics do to enable me to take steps to solve that problem.
Right, to answer the question, definitely.
It's not just, trying to solve a death scene,
yeah,
or an accident, or a building collapse. It could be something like you said before, forensic accounting, somebody right, who is doctoring the books, someone who is taking money from the cash register, or a tip jar, or, a pet thief, So there are different ways to go about solving any problem.
Yeah.
And if they just start thinking more about the forensic, how can forensic science be applied to that problem?
Yeah.
I think they'd be surprised.
Look at you throwing out Ace Ventura in there. Way to go. Old pet detective.
Right.
Ace Ventura in forensics. Who would have ever thought, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, that's interesting. And I think your point before with surrogates too, right? So that's, answering those questions, right? How are these people related? And being able to solve that issue. I had Ari Morse on earlier this year, and man, that's some really interesting stuff, And I know I saw something on LinkedIn, I think a day or two ago, with James Brown estate, right? 15 years, and they finally agreed on it. And Ari's like, yeah, we did some work on this that I can't talk about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very cool stuff. Very cool. Shout out to Ari. I know he's a good listener. So
that's right.
Yeah, we'll have you on again soon, buddy. But yeah, it's really cool, and there are different aspects to it, right? And I think you do get caught up in the okay, so forensics is just, I got to get those fingerprints back and show who was at the site, or we got to look at the ballistics of the recovered bullet and looking at it that way. But it's so much more than that. So what would you suggest to the regular investigator who gets an assignment, a new case that they're working on? Like, how could they approach this more on a forensics way? I mean, I look at it in my opinion here is like methodology, right? Having the check sheet and being able to look at things. But what would you suggest to just the everyday guy who's out in the field to keep an eye open for forensics issues where they could really dig into and maybe kick up some more information?
Well, that's an excellent question. And I guess the best way to answer it would be just keep an open mind take something and look at, what's the cause and effect relationship. Look at, if you're looking at something that you can touch, feel, see, smell, there's probably a forensic application that can help answer questions related to those things.
Right.
So I think if they look at a case through the filter, put the glasses on that have this forensic filter, and start to think about, how can forensics solve my problem? How can forensic science get me more information that will lead to a resolution of this case, whatever the case may be?
Right. You start thinking about Sherlock Holmes, right? The Benedict Cumberbatch version of it, right, where he's sizing things up and going through the science behind everything, and positing theories and then trying to prove them, right? That's
Absolutely.
how we do what we do, right? Rule things out, and it'll lead you to the truth, right?
Exactly. And you just said a phrase that, look at things kind of in a scientific fashion. Don't just look at things in black and white. Look at things and think about what's the science? What is the science behind a certain thing that just happened? Or,
right.
I think if you start to like I said, open your mind more to looking at things from a scientific view.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the problem is you're trying to solve, I think you'll surprise yourself.
Yeah, it's so important in what we do, and I reflect back to some of the really good attorneys I worked with very early on in my career. I recall like being in one of the guy's office, and he's got all these medical charts and medical books, and he's basically pretty much a doctor without a doctor's license, because he understands, the mechanics of an injury and the ongoing effects. And if somebody's got a herniated disc, like how is that going to affect them for the rest of their life? Like they have to learn all that stuff, because when they're in front of a jury and they're talking about it, they got to be knowledgeable about it. You can't just like throw out assumptions. Like there's this science behind it. And then, also when it comes to the mechanics of an accident, right? So whether it could be a trip and fall or a motor vehicle accident, it's so important to ask those questions when somebody trips. Like, was it your right foot? Was it your left foot? Did you fall to your right side? Did you fall backwards? Did you fall to your left side? Did you put your hands out on your way down? Like just understanding how you're going to reconstruct how that injury happened, right? And that's all science. I mean, there's literally science behind it, and it's got to all make sense, right? So if somebody tells you like they tripped with their, or they stumbled with their left foot, and then they fell to their right side, okay, well there's something else happened here, right? Did they stumble or did they fall right to the ground? Like the way you ask your questions, the way if you know what to ask, you'll get the right answers that are going to put the mechanics of how it happened together. Does that make sense?
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes us good at what we do, being able to identify, that kind of stuff. And just, that comes with experience, right? So working with an investigator or taking a training class and understanding, how do I ask the right questions to get them where they need to be? I know a couple of weeks ago I had on a guy who does construction litigation, an attorney, and we were talking about labor law, right? So understanding the labor law and the things that you need to hit, the certain aspects, if you can get that in your investigation, the odds of them having summary judgment and not having to go out and litigate and have a big long lawsuit are that much stronger, because you've done what was required very early on, right? And these are all great things,
I created that PowerPoint presentation, advancing your investigation through forensic science. I created it a couple years ago when I was asked to speak at the Alabama PI Association conference. And they didn't ask me to create that, but I just thought, okay, what, utilizing my experience and my expertise, what do PIs really need to know about forensic science? Because I also have another very popular presentation. It's called, it's basically junk science, what PIs and attorneys need to know about forensic science.
Right.
So I put together that presentation that I gave at NALI. And after my presentation at the Alabama conference, people came up to me and even during the question and answer session, it just opened their mind to things they had never thought about. And when you think about it, it's a very simple thing, but sometimes we just have these blockers in our mind that just don't allow us to, see over the wall and see the other side. So,
Right.
So I felt really good that, gosh, I did something that people enjoyed, people liked, and it opened their eyes. And so people just start taking off these blinders and these mental blockers as they approach their work. I think they'll be very surprised at what they can do and the kind of support they can give to their clients and attorneys and their customers.
Yeah, and sometimes it's a matter of just untraining bad habits, that you develop in whatever career you had prior, or you have no habits because you're brand new to the game here and you're learning how to do stuff. But that's why these association events are so important, because it not only is it just the presentation that you gave, right? It's the Q&A afterwards, right? The ability to have those conversations, and it's the, hey, we're all going out to dinner, why don't you come along? And now it's that extended, sitting down and getting to know the topic or having that discussion on a whole nother scale. I'm a big believer in that stuff. And it's always a struggle, especially if you're a small shop. Like, do I take the time off? Do I spend the money to go to these things? The answer is always yes on this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. You're right.
Yeah, it's really, it's a game changer. So is there a particular case or something that you worked on that you can talk about that was kind of like a surprise to you, that the way it ended up was not the way you initially had thought it was going to happen?
Well, in criminal defense, you get a lot of those anyway. Right. You have clients that, are denying that they did something, and you're representing them. And they repeatedly lie to your face and tell you one story, but many times the science, the forensics, tells a completely different story. So when you try to break the news to them that, well, I don't think it happened just the way you're telling me it happened, they have a hard time hearing that. And sometimes they come down off that. Some of them, they continue to live in denial, right? Which is understandable. But Matt, there's just so many cases that I don't know that I can really narrow it down to one or two, but I think that some of the interesting cases I've had that have really helped me quite a bit on getting people, defending them and creating reasonable doubt, right? And in some cases, getting them acquitted is through cell phone forensics. It's just amazing how one little piece of the technology called, our cell phone, how it can just unlock the doors to so much information.
It's only getting bigger, right? So the whole Internet of Things and everything in front of us has a brain these days and is recording and reporting, right? So it's
right.
scary, right?
And I think the ability to track the movement of a cell phone, throughout a geographic area, is just incredibly helpful, both to prosecute crimes and to defend people who are charged with crimes.
Yeah.
So we've had some pretty good successes with cell phone technology, especially in tracking movements.
Yeah. Yeah, we just had Amber Schroeder on from Parabin, our last episode, and the whole cell phone forensics and her company and the stuff that they do is it's pretty amazing, and it doesn't stop. There's always a new release and something additional coming out. Now we were talking about Windows 11 coming out, right, and all these. The ability to network and connect every single device you own to one hub, and how that should make every investigator like salivate who's doing this type of research.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
It literally does. Yeah.
Sometimes these people that we defend, that you wonder, man, if you just had not taken your cell phone with you when that happened, you probably wouldn't be sitting right here.
Yeah.
But it's an invaluable tool.
Yeah. It helps you figure out exactly what happened. Definitely, for sure. That's it's good stuff. And who knows what the next thing is going to be, right? There'll be microchips implanted in people, probably, keeping track of everyone. But that's a different story for a different day. So let's talk now to the investigator that's been in business for 10 years or 15 years, and doesn't really grasp this idea or hasn't really fulfilled it to the ability that they can. What kind of advice would you give to that particular person to really take a look at what they're doing and how they're doing it, and making sure that they're doing everything that they possibly could be doing?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind, Matt, is pick up the phone and call me. Pick up the phone and call someone who is experienced in forensics or who has conducted a similar investigation.
Right.
As PIs, you find a lot of people that just don't like to reach out to other people for advice or guidance, or with questions, because I think they let their pride or their ego get in the way. And I don't mean that in a negative sense. I'm just saying that, many times we find people that just don't like to ask questions because they're afraid of what people might think of them.
Sure.
And I think one of the greatest tools we have in our investigators toolbox is state associations, professional associations, networking, listservs. That's just an incredible way to get answers to questions. So I think people just, once they have a case and they haven't thought outside the box much in their career, especially in terms of forensics, ask the question, send an email, put a question on a listserv, give me a call, I could list probably a half dozen people that would be very willing to take a call and provide any advice and guidance that anyone may have.
Yeah, that's why those listservs for like NALI and NCISS are so important. And even, you'll get some repeat questions every now and then. But people have grace and they answer the questions and they don't tell them like, asked and answered already,
That's right.
It's a good environment. But, the resource tools that are out there are are great. I mean, that's, you're saying Investigator's Toolbox, that's the genesis, is the idea of that toolbox thing that I created, right? Taking all this information and putting it, in a library, making it searchable, and being able to have those tools at your hand it's a great thing. And really, we have all this technology, we have this ability to do it. Why not harness it, make it available for everybody, and make it searchable and just easy to find, and create that community where there is, people that are interested in helping one another. Because that's a new shift, right? That's maybe 7 or 8 years on people doing it. It used to be in the good old days, it's like, no, I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'll do it for you, but I'm not going to tell you how I do it, right? That attitude changed, and it changed because of folks like you going out to conferences and giving these dynamic presentations and saying, I have this pedigree, and I'm going to teach you how to do what I do, right?
Absolutely.
Folks like that are invaluable, and it's having that understanding that it's our responsibility to raise up the people underneath us, the people that are coming behind us, to make sure that the level of excellence is maintained, right? When you're getting a little bit long in the tooth, like you and I have been around for a bit, we have a responsibility. We really do, to pass these nuggets along to our industry and make sure that, these folks that are now getting into doing this are being shown and taught the right way to do things. So that's what I love about this industry, because I feel like there's really a shift that folks are doing that now.
Well, I know you've seen the type of people I'm about to describe to you, but it just amazes me when you meet people in this profession that are not involved with state associations or national associations. They just operate their business out of their home or out of an office, and they're a small little island, and they don't reach out to anyone, and they don't feel a need to be involved in a state association. Mm-hmm. Well, just think how much valuable information and resources that they're bypassing, that they're not being exposed to.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. And when I see people like that, regardless of what their experience is or what their expertise is, I just have to say, boy, you're dumb.
Yeah.
You're not taking advantage of a great opportunity to learn something and to share with other people that, just like me and you and thousands of others that rely on networking and associations.
It's so important. The pastor at my church was talking years ago. He'd given a sermon I thought was really, really funny. He talks about men, and I'm going to single out men. We're going to leave ladies alone today. It's that us men, we like to live in a box. Right? We all live in a box. As long as we're staying in our box and we're comfortable with the things that are in our box and doing our box, like we're good. We don't need to do anything else. But sometimes you got to get out of that box, right? You got to push yourself to get better and get out of your comfort zone and really, embrace these different things, because at the end of the day, most of us are business owners, right? We have our operations that we're running, or we're working for somebody where if we clear more cases, we'll probably make more money, right? So what it comes down to is it's a financial thing, right? If you take that interest in being the very best at what you're doing and making yourself better, you're going to get more work. You're going to get more cases. You're going to get a good reputation. People are going to refer work to you. If you're working for somebody, you're probably going to get a raise because you're now generating more income for the business. So it's good to get out of that box. It's good to push yourself, and it's so important to do things like this. Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right.
So we're going to wind down over here, Mark. This was really, really awesome. I was very excited to have you on, actually, because I just think it's fantastic. The stuff that you've done, the things that you've taught about. Thank you for serving our country as well. That's an amazing thing. Anybody who has set aside and done that, I got tons and tons of respect for that. I think it's really, really awesome. And
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, man, it's good stuff. So keep doing what you're doing. And if folks have questions, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to my website, Gillespie Forensics, it's GillespieInvestigations.com.
Right.
The name of my company is Gillespie Forensics and Investigations.
Yeah.
They can call me on my cell phone at 737-231-2696, I believe, or they can reach out to me, send me an email, mark@GillespieInvestigations.com.
Right. Somewhere out there, Paul Jabe is shaking his fist and going, "Oh." So,
right. But hey, I want to thank you for all the things that you're doing. I mean, it's just incredible.
Thank you.
You know, the idea and the execution of that idea into the what the Investigator's Toolbox is phenomenal. And
thank you.
And that's showing that you are very giving, and you are selfless, and you're thinking about advancing our profession and advancing the abilities and resources of the people that do this day in and day out. And so you're to be commended for that. And I appreciate what you do. And I just hope that many people out there can link up with you and take advantage of the invaluable resource that you provide. It's a tremendous idea, and it's a tremendous resource. And I too am looking forward to digging into that toolbox to look for the tool that I need that I haven't been able to find before.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm very humbled, and thank you, by the way, for all that stuff. There, really, it's I really do appreciate that. I'm very humbled by the folks that are involved in the project and that have contributed with content and just support and really, the idea was there. How it all came together is really amazing, and I'm really proud of it. And it's not me. It's our community. Just all I'm doing is just taking everybody and putting it in one place. The content, the way it functions is because of folks like you and others that contribute and are part of it, right? That's the whole spirit of what it is. So I'm just a guy who figured out how to put it in one place, but the content is all folks like you. So
well, you should be proud of that. So
yep.
Yeah, you're a man of action. So good job.
Right. Please tell my wife that. that would
send me your cell phone number.
Yeah, exactly. So, Mark, thank you so much. This was great, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks in Texas again, my new home from home. And this was great. So, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch everybody on the next episode. Take care.
Thank you.
What a great time chatting with Mark. He has such an amazing career, and if you don't follow him on LinkedIn, you should. Just an incredible wealth of information. We also like to thank Crosstracks, Merlin Locate, PI Institute of Education, BFIC, and TALI for sponsoring the show. Please support these great sponsors of ours. Have you checked out investigatorstoolbox.com yet? Now's the time to do it. Make sure you use code PIP201836 and save $20 when you join. Become a member through the app, available on iOS and Android platforms. If you have a question or comment about the show, email Matt at matthews@satellitepi.com. You can also find him on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. He'd like your feedback to bring you the best shows possible. And we'll be back on Monday with a new show, so make sure you tune in and stay safe out there.